The day the Galaxy Council declared war on humanity did not start with thunder or fire or anything dramatic. It started quietly, almost politely, with a soft chime that echoed across every relay channel in the Sol sector. Most people barely noticed it. Some paused for a moment or looked at the nearest screen. But only one person needed to respond. And he was already late. He stood on a balcony of the orbital consulate, looking down at Earth turning below him. The oceans were soft blue, the land a deep green, and the clouds moved in long white trails. From up here, everything looked calm. Too calm for the message waiting for him inside. He did not turn to read it. He already knew what it said. The council had made their decision the day before. Today was just for show. He took a thin cigarette from his coat pocket and tapped it. On the railing, like the rhythm could slow down time. Most representatives preferred clean air or medical patches, but he was not like most representatives. He lit the cigarette, breathed in the smoke, and listened as the diplomatic broadcast played behind him. The voice said that by the ruling of the Galaxy Council, humanity was named a hostile and unregulated force. All treaties were canceled. The voice was smooth and calm, translated into many languages. But it carried the cold tone of someone who had never met a human and did not care to. It listed accusations, unauthorized expansion, refusal to follow certain rules, unpredictable behavior, human stubbornness. The usual things? People had tried to avoid this day by being polite. Others gave up parts of Earth's outer territories to keep peace. Some hoped compromise would work. But he had always known better. Humans had survived too much and grown too fast to be anything other than what they were. And the galaxy did not know what to do with that. He took another drag, letting the smoke drift up. People asked why he still smoked something old and simple. The answer was that a tiny burning stick made by human hands still mattered. Even in a galaxy full of advanced machines, the broadcast changed tone. Effective immediately. The voice said the Galaxy Council allowed military action to neutralize the human threat. All member systems were expected to join. Anyone who refused would be punished. He did not react. He stayed where he was, breathing slowly as the smoke faded. The door behind him slid open. "You heard them, right?" a voice asked. It was soft and nervous. One of his young aides stepped into the doorway, holding a datapad against her chest. They really said it. A full declaration. He nodded without turning. "What do we do now?" she asked. "They want our official answer. They said you have 10 minutes to respond." He finally turned toward her. She looked pale and frightened, like her world had changed in a single moment. Humanity had always imagined the galaxy as something bright and full of hope. Today, it felt more like a warning signal. She was trying not to fall apart. "They were always going to declare war," he said. "That does not help me," she whispered. "It was not meant to." He walked inside slowly. The broadcast repeated itself behind him. He went to the main console, a smooth arc of metal and light, and placed his hand on the panel. The machine showed the final message from the council. Their symbols glowed like a row of judging eyes. A timer counted down. "You do not seem worried," the aide said. He shrugged. "Would it help if I acted scared?" "It might help me." He almost smiled, but did not. Instead, he opened the channel that would send his reply through the council network. The faces of the council members appeared. Some had many limbs, some had few. Some were made of rock or crystal. Some changed colors to speak. They all watched him with cold patience. They had long decided humans were a problem, not partners. He rolled the cigarette between his fingers. Ash fell onto the floor. Someone on the council feed gasped at the sight of it. One counselor spoke in a hard voice. "Human representative, you must acknowledge the declaration of war." Do you understand the seriousness of this? He looked around the room and then back at them. I heard you, he said. Then state your answer, another counselor demanded. Say whether humanity accepts or contests the declaration. The aide held her breath. The timer reached 7 minutes. He shrugged again, calm and slow. He flicked the cigarette on the side of the console and lifted his eyes. You can declare whatever you want, he said. But do not expect humans to kneel just because someone larger tells them to. The counselors exploded with angry noise. Threats filled the channel. Sanctions, enforcement, destruction. The sound blurred together into one long storm. The aide flinched. You cannot say that to them, she whispered. They will, they already chose, he said. We are done pretending. The console beeped, waiting for his official statement. The timer passed 5 minutes. He brushed ash off his coat and leaned closer to the projector. The counselors could see the tired lines in his face, carved by long years of negotiation and disappointment. The galaxy did not want humanity as an equal, only as something controlled. You want a response, he said? Fine. Everyone held still. Before he could finish, the lights flickered. A soft alarm pulsed. The aide turned toward the window and froze. Something massive was moving past Earth's orbit. Something not announced by the Council. Something no human ship matched. A shape so large it covered half the view of space. He stared at it. Then he let out a small, quiet laugh. Well, he said, that is new. The console chimed again. Incoming transmission from an unknown source. The aide whispered, should we answer it? He did not hesitate. Let's see who wants to talk. He opened the channel. The screen went white. The screen flashed white so suddenly that for a moment the entire room seemed to disappear. Walls, lights, the floating council display. Even the earth outside the balcony window wall, swallowed by a blinding wash of color that wasn't really light and didn't behave like any transmission he had ever seen. It felt like standing inside a breath held too long, a silence stretched so thin it might snap. Then the glow faded, just enough to reveal a shape forming inside it. Not a face, not a symbol. Just a shifting outline, like someone had drawn a person in smoke and then asked the smoke to stand still. The aide covered her mouth, her eyes locked on the strange figure as though it might crawl out of the screen at any moment. But the representative didn't step back. He kept his stance firm, shoulders straight, watching the unknown signal with the same calm he had worn since the day began. The voice that followed wasn't sharp like the council's or layered like the translated broadcasts. It was soft, almost quiet, yet it carried a weight that pressed against the air. It didn't echo, it settled. Human representative, it said, stand by. The words drifted through the room, gentle and chilling at the same time. The aide trembled. He remained still. In the corner of the console, the council feed flickered, their angry signals scrambling as they tried to override the transmission. But they couldn't. Every time they attempted to cut through, the white glow pulsed, swallowing their interference like a tide-absorbing raindrops. Who are you? He asked, voice steady. But the figure didn't respond. It only shifted, its outline rippling like it wasn't made of anything solid. The aide whispered, this isn't a council channel. It's not a pirate broadcast either. Our system can't trace it. Every system can be traced, he said. Not this one, she insisted. She glanced at the meter readings. It's not even using standard spectrum. It's outside it. He didn't answer, because something cold pooled in the base of his spine, instinct he hadn't felt in years. Humans had survived alien empires, corporate tyrants, rogue AIs, and disasters that would have broken softer species. Through it all, they had developed a sense for danger, an intuition honed by scraping through centuries of impossible odds. And whatever this was, it wasn't familiar. The glow thickened, shifting again, and the voice returned. Human representative. Remain silent. Do not terminate the channel. This time, it wasn't a request. The aide looked at him, eyes pleading. We should cut the feed. That's the fastest way to provoke something we don't understand, he said. But stand by, he repeated, echoing the mysterious voice, though his tone was dry, almost tired. Another pulse of light rolled through the room, brushing against them like a warm wind. The consoles buzzed. The holograms dimmed. The earth outside flickered not physically, but as though the station's view panels were struggling to understand what they were seeing. Then the voice spoke again, softer than before. You stand at the threshold of conflict. You stand divided. You stand unaware. The representative's jaw tightened just slightly. If you're here to deliver riddles, you're late. The council already beat you to it. Still nothing. Still that faint, strange hum under the voice. Identify yourself, he said again. At last, the figure shifted with purpose. It leaned slightly forward, as though studying him. The aide inched behind him, using him as a barrier between herself and whatever was appearing. You ask for identity, the voice said, but you do not yet understand the shape of the choice before you. Humanity stands on the edge. What comes next will not be decided by councils or fleets. And who will decide it? He asked. The glow stilled. You? That single word hung in the room like a weight dropped into still water. The aide shook her head. No, that can't why him. He's just quiet, he murmured, not unkindly. He took one slow step closer to the console, close enough for the glare to wash over his face. Explain. The white figure didn't move. Instead, the screen behind it faded, displaying something like a star map but fractured broken lines, missing points, entire constellations erased. Places that should have been bright darkened. Places that should have been empty glimmered with faint flickering threads. This is the council's future map, the aide whispered. But wrong? Not wrong, the voice said. Incomplete. The representative studied the map quietly. He had seen hundreds of navigational charts in his lifetime, many far more complex, but something about this one felt different. The empty parts felt intentional, like blank pages waiting for ink. What does this have to do with the war? He asked. The shape's outline pulsed. The declaration is a symptom, not a cause. The council doesn't move without a cause, he said. You assume the council understands the cause, the voice replied. You assume they know what they fear. He narrowed his eyes. And you do. Enough. The map shifted again. New lines appeared thin, faint, but growing stronger, spreading through the empty spaces. The paths didn't match any known trade routes or star lanes. They curved in ways that made no mathematical sense. What are those? The aide asked. Ships, signals, possibilities, the figure answered. Her breath caught. Are you saying the galaxy is changing? Like physically changing? No, it said. But the balance within it is. The representative felt the tension in the room coil tighter, like a wire pulled to its final inch. Possibilities balance, causes no one understood. Words chosen carefully, deliberately, in a way he didn't trust. Why contact me? He asked. You could have spoken to the council directly. They would not hear. And you think I will. You will listen. That is enough. He let the silence stretch. Outside, the shadow still drifted in orbit, massive, silent, blocking a portion of Earth's curve. Whatever it was hadn't moved since the transmission began. Humans across the planet were probably staring up at the sky in confusion. Unaware that the answers were hanging in front of him, wrapped in fog. What do you want? He asked finally. The figure's edges trembled again. To warn humanity. the aide asked. To warn him, the voice corrected. The representative didn't blink. Warn me of what? Another pulse of white filled the room, brighter this time. The consoles beeped warnings. The lights flickered. The aide flinched and shielded her face. This war, the voice said, will not begin the way the Council believes. Their fleets will move. Yours will answer. But they are no longer the only forces in motion. The representative's heart beat once, heavy and cold. And what forces are those? He asked. The white glow dimmed suddenly, like a candle guttering. You will see. That's not an answer. It is the only answer I can give. The map on the screen flickered against stars, vanishing, paths warping, new lights sparking at the edges of known space. Not ships, not signals. Something else. The voice grew softer. When the first fracture appears, you must choose. Humanity will survive or fall by the decision made in that moment. What fracture? You will know, not good enough. It is all the time we have, the voice said. Then, for the first time, the figure shifted in a way that felt purposeful, almost human. Its outline leaned forward, as though staring directly into him. Prepare. The light exploded outward. The aide cried out. The consoles overloaded. The room filled with a single note of piercing static. He braced himself against the impact, but there was no impact. Only light. Then darkness. Everything went black for 3 long seconds. When the systems rebooted, the council feed was gone. The mysterious transmission was gone. The white glow was gone. And so was the shadow outside the balcony window. The aide gasped. It's gone. Whatever that was, just vanished. He stepped toward the glass, staring out at the calm arc of Earth beneath them. No shadow, no anomaly. No trace of anything at all. Sir, the aide whispered shakily, should we file this as a first contact event? A threat, a warning. What do we even call that? He didn't answer, because the console behind him was still rebooting. And as the home screen flickered to life, a new notification blinked in red. Incoming encrypted message, origin, Sol system. Unknown source. Priority flag, human only. It wasn't from the council. It wasn't from the white figure. And according to the system, it was coming from inside their own orbit. The aide swallowed hard. Do we open it? He stared at the signal, a faint pulse waiting like a heartbeat. Then he exhaled once, slow. Not yet. He didn't know what was happening. He didn't know who had reached out to him. He didn't know what the council feared. But he knew one thing, as the mysterious message pulsed silently behind him, whatever was coming next. Humanity wasn't ready, and neither was he. The blinking red notification pulsed on the console like it had a heartbeat of its own. A slow, steady rhythm. Human-only priority. Origin somewhere inside the Sol system. He stood in front of it for a long moment, not touching anything, barely breathing. The aide shifted nervously beside him, clearly wanting to speak, but too afraid to break whatever fragile balance was holding the room together. Outside the window, Earth drifted on, innocent and unaware. Billions of people lived their ordinary lives beneath that blue swirl, waking up and going to work, arguing over small things, dreaming of better futures. None of them knew the Galaxy Council had declared war, and none of them knew something even stranger had appeared moments after, something powerful enough to silence the Council, something that had spoken directly to him. He wondered how he was supposed to explain any of this to a species that still struggled to agree on global weather plans. The aide finally cleared her throat. If it's a human signal, she said softly, then who is sending it? Military command. They wouldn't encrypt it like this, he said. Science division. They'd attach 10 pages of data and a warning label. Then who? He didn't answer. Because the truth was no one on Earth, or anywhere in human space, should have access to a code that could override consulate protocols. It wasn't just rare. It didn't exist. He had used priority encryption plenty of times, but nothing like this. Nothing that forced the console to isolate itself from the network and block counsel. Interference entirely. Whatever the message was, someone wanted only him to see it. He stared at the notification a moment longer, then stepped back. "Lock it down," he said. The aide blinked. "You're not opening it?" "Not until I know what the last transmission was." "You mean the white figure?" Her voice trembled at the memory. Double quotes, "Yes. It's gone. The console's wiped all traces. Even the memory logs are corrupted." "That's exactly why I don't trust this message." She hesitated. "So what do we do?" He rubbed a hand across his face, feeling the roughness of stubble. The day had barely begun, but he felt like someone had stretched it into a year. He turned toward the balcony again, staring down at Earth's soft glow. "When the Council declared war," he said, "they expected us to panic. They expected me to plead for time or negotiate some kind of surrender." The aide swallowed. "You didn't." "No." He lit another cigarette, even though the consulate's air system would complain. He watched the smoke curl upward. But something interrupted them. Something powerful enough to bypass their security. "And it said you had to make some kind of choice," she whispered. He didn't respond. But he didn't need to. The silence said enough. A soft alarm chimed again. And the console lit up with a new line of text and automated report from long range. Sensors.object detected at edge of Sol system. Non-council signature. Speed unclassified. Composition unknown. He stared at the notification as the aide turned pale. "Is it the same thing?" She asked. "The shadow from before." "No," he said. "This one's smaller." Smaller didn't mean safer. He tapped the console, and the display shifted into a rough projection. An object drifting near the heliopause, too far to identify clearly, but definitely not a council vessel. Council ships were elegant, predictable. This thing was none of those things. Its shape was uneven, its movement unnatural. Like it drifted in pieces held together by something invisible. The aide leaned closer. "Should we alert command?" "Not yet." "What?" "Why not?" "Because they'll fire on it," he said. "And if it's anything like the thing we just saw, firing first might be the worst thing we could do." Her voice grew small. "You think it's connected?" "I think it's too close to be coincidence." The console chimed again, this time with a small blinking icon, another unread message. Not the encrypted one. A priority alert from Earth's central government. They wanted his official response to the Council. They wanted confirmation of the war. They wanted answers he didn't have. He didn't open it. Instead, he looked back at the empty space where the white figure had been. The voice had said humanity stood on the edge, that something other than the Council was moving. That the coming conflict wasn't what it seemed. He had brushed it off at the time. But now, the map, it showed broken stars, shifting paths. The strange glowing points at the galaxy's edge was hard to forget. The aide gently stepped closer. "Sir, people on Earth will panic if they learn about all this. They'll think we're under attack from multiple sides." "We might be," he said. She froze. "You don't actually believe that, right?" He didn't reply. Because believing or not believing didn't matter. Only preparing did. He tapped the display again, pulling up internal feeds from the building. Security drones moved along the hallways, scanning each corridor. Diplomatic staff gathered in small, anxious groups, whispering. News networks began to erupt with rumors. People were starting to notice the council channels were offline and on the balcony. Sunlight struck the curve of Earth in a way that felt almost mocking, so peaceful. So calm, while everything above it twisted in two. Something new and dangerous. He took a final drag of his cigarette and crushed it out. Tell command to raise defensive shields. Worldwide, he said quietly. The aide's eyes widened. That'll confirm something is wrong. It already is. And the unidentified object. Track it. Don't touch it, and the encrypted message. He glanced at it again, that blinking red light watching him like an accusation. Keep it locked. No one opens it until I say. She nodded and hurried to follow the orders, but he could tell she was scared. Not just of the Council anymore. Not just of war. But of something bigger, stranger. Something that didn't fit neatly into the familiar categories of alien threats or interstellar politics. As she left, he remained alone in the room. The hum of the consoles his only companion. He replayed the white figure's final words in his mind. Prepare. For what? For war. For something beyond war. For a fracture, a moment of choice. He wasn't sure, but he knew something else now. Whatever was happening wasn't just between humanity and the Council. It wasn't even a conflict the galaxy understood. Something was shifting beneath the surface. Something older, or newer, or simply hidden until now. He turned back to the map projection. Stars flickered. Paths glowed and dimmed. The breaks seemed to spread outward, like cracks in glass. What disturbed him wasn't the missing stars. It was the ones that appeared in places where nothing should exist. He leaned in, tracing the faint glowing points with his eyes. They weren't fixed. They moved. Just slightly, but enough to form patterns. Shapes, roots, not Council roots. Not human. Not any alien civilization recognized. Someone something was moving toward the center of the galaxy, and humanity happened to sit directly in the way. A soft click sounded behind him. He straightened. Instantly, the door to the room slid open, but no one entered. No footsteps. No voice. Nothing. Who's there? He called. Silence. He stepped slowly toward the doorway, tension tightening every muscle. If someone wanted to breach the consulate, they would have done so loudly. But if something wanted to slip inside, he moved forward, careful, listening. No movement. The hallway stretched ahead. Then he saw it. A small device sat on the floor just inside the doorway. No larger than a coin. Metallic, smooth, unmarked. It hadn't been there before. He crouched, feeling the air shift around him. The device didn't glow, didn't beep. It simply sat there, waiting. He hesitated for almost a full minute before reaching out. It vibrated the moment his fingers touched it. Just once, a message flashed through his mind. Not spoken, not heard, but felt. Do not trust the signal. He pulled his hand back sharply. His breath quickened. The message echoed inside his skull, fading slowly. Do not trust the signal. The encrypted message. The mysterious white figure. The object in the outer system, or something else entirely. He looked at the device a gain line to find it gone. Vanished. A cold chill crept down his spine. He straightened, glancing around the empty hallway. Nothing. No sign anyone had been there. The console behind him chimed again. This time, the encrypted human-only message flashed brighter. As if reacting, the aide's voice crackled over the comm. Sir, command is requesting immediate confirmation. What should I tell them? He stared at the pulsing message, unsure if opening it would destroy them more save. Them, he didn't know who to trust. Anymore, not the Council, not the unknown figure, not the object entering the system, not even his own instincts. But he had to choose something. Tell them. He began, his voice broke off, because the encrypted message suddenly changed. The text rewrote itself. Open now. Urgent. You are not alone. He stared at the glowing letters, pulse thundering in his ears, and he had no idea whether opening that message would be the first step toward humanity's salvation or the moment everything finally shattered. The message on the console pulsed brighter, the red glow deepening until it painted the dim room with restless color. You are not alone. The words lingered on the screen like they were waiting for him to breathe wrong, to blink, to falter. The aide's voice kept calling his name through the comm, her tone sharp and close to panic, but he barely heard her. His focus stayed locked on that message, the one that shouldn't exist, the one that spoke to him like it already knew what he feared. He stepped closer until the console's light touched his face. His hand lifted halfway before stopping. His reflection stared back at him, tired eyes, clenched jaw. A man who suddenly felt smaller compared to whatever forces had decided to play games with humanity. He wasn't afraid. Not exactly. But something in his chest tightened, like the air had become too thin to carry answers. "Sir," the aide tried again. "Please respond. Command needs direction." He forced himself to speak. "Tell them I'm assessing the incoming signals. That's not enough." "They're demanding, it's all they're getting," he snapped, then softened. "Just stall them." The line went quiet. She understood. She didn't like it, but she understood. He turned back to the console, the message like a heartbeat connecting him to something unseen. The room was silent except for the soft hum of the station and the faint buzz of distant systems working overtime. The emptiness felt heavier now, as if the air around him expected him to make the wrong move. You are not alone. Not Council. Not the white figure. Not the unseen messenger who slipped a device into his doorway. Not the drifting object near the edge of the system. Whoever or whatever was talking to him was human, or wanted to sound human, and that terrified him more. He took a breath and opened the message. The screen went dark, then filled with static. Not normal static-structured static. Patterns hidden inside noise. The console lights flickered once, and a faint symbol appeared at the center of the screen. A circle with a single line cutting through it. He hadn't seen it in years. Before humanity joined the interstellar community. Before diplomatic treaties became tangled knots. Before he'd ever stood in front of the Galaxy Council. There had been whispers of them, an old Earth project that disappeared without explanation. Something funded in secret. Supposedly meant to prepare humanity for extraterrestrial contact long before anyone admitted contact was possible. People called it a myth. He knew better. The circle with line symbol was their mark. His pulse kicked hard. The static shifted into a voice familiar in cadence, but faint, distorted. "Representative? If you're receiving this," the timeline accelerated. The council moved earlier than projected. He stiffened. "Who is this?" The voice ignored him, continuing with a rushed urgency. "We don't have long. You've already seen traces of the anomaly. You've already felt its interference. It's been growing for years, but the council didn't notice until now. They think humanity is the threat. They're wrong." He leaned in, tension twisting through him like wire. "The real threat didn't come from outside the galaxy," the voice continued. "It came from inside," he whispered. "Inside what?" Static swallowed the next few words, but enough broke through. Fractures spreading. Star roots collapsing. Wrong patterns. Not natural. He sank into the nearest chair, gripping the edge as the message pressed deeper. "We couldn't warn the council. They would have silenced us. They don't understand what's coming, but you. You were chosen because you don't follow their rules. Because humanity doesn't. And that resistance is the only thing keeping the anomaly from taking root." His throat tightened. "What anomaly?" The static cleared sharply. "The thing you saw? The white figure? The drifting object? the changing star maps. He felt the room tilt slightly, or maybe it was just the weight of the words. "We've been monitoring its movements," the voice said. "It doesn't communicate the way we do. It doesn't think the way we do. It reshapes its environment passively. It's not a single entity. It's a field, a phenomenon, a presence." He remembered the glow, how it didn't just appear, but pressed into reality, bending the station's electronics, warping the view of Earth. He remembered how the map changed like something was rewriting the galaxy. The message continued. "The Council believes they can fight it the way they fight us. They can't. They'll mistake its first appearance as an attack, and that will trigger a cascade." A cold dread gripped him. What cascade? The voice's tone shifted, quieter. Collapse, not of planets, not of fleets, of order. He didn't understand. He wasn't sure he wanted to. "We need you to make the choice when it happens," the voice said. "You'll know the moment. Do not trust appearances. Do not trust the Council." And listen closely, static roared again. He shot forward, tapping the console, trying to stabilize the feed. The last line broke through, distorted but clear enough to burn into him. "The anomaly reacts to decisions." Then the message cut. The screen went black. He stared at it, breathing hard, mind spinning. The anomaly reacts to decisions. What kind of threat did that? What kind of presence changed shape based on choices? The door behind him slid open. He turned sharply. The aide rushed in, pale and out of breath. "Sir, we have a problem. Only one." She shook her head quickly. "Multiple. The Council fleets are mobilizing early. They've moved to carriers into position near Jupiter. And that's not all." He forced his voice steady. "Go on. The object at the heliopause changed direction. It's moving fast. Really fast. Straight toward Mars." He stood so abruptly the chair rolled back. How fast? Too fast for any normal ship. And there's more, its deep network just went down. All long-range communication is glitching. The room suddenly felt colder. "And command?" he asked. "They're assuming it's Council interference." He rubbed his jaw. "It's not." She waited, trembling slightly. "Then what is it?" He looked at the console, the dark screen reflecting his face, drawn tight with tension. "It's the anomaly," he said quietly. "Or part of it." The station shuddered. Lights flickered. The aide gasped. "Was that?" "Shields activating," he said. "The Council fleet must be charging weapons. Against us." Her voice cracked. "Against whatever they think we're hiding." Outside the balcony window, distant shapes glimmered in the Voidsley Council ships moving into formation, forming an arc around the orbital station. Their lights blinked with the cold precision of beings who had already made up their minds. The intercom crackled. "This is Council Carrier Astrovector," a stern voice announced. "Human representative, surrender your station for inspection. You have 3 minutes to comply." The aide stared at him, fear widening her eyes. What do we do? He thought of the white figure. He thought of the hidden device warning him. He thought of the encrypted message telling him he wasn't alone. He thought of the anomaly moving closer, warping reality like ripples around a stone. And most of all, he thought about how every warning pointed to choices. He stepped toward the console again. "Open channel to the Council," he said. The aide hesitated. "Sir, if we talk to them now, they'll think we're stalling for an attack." He nodded. "I know." She swallowed. "And if we don't, they'll board the station." He knew that too. She opened the channel. The counselor faces flared to life on the screen, their expressions sharp, ready for confrontation. "Human representative," the lead counselor growled. "You have withheld information about an unknown presence in your system. Surrender the station immediately. A low rumble rolled through the structure closer this time. The shield strained under growing pressure. He stared at the counselors, but another sensation tugged at his awareness. The console flickered, overlaying faint traces of white light again, as if the anomaly's presence brushed the edge of the station. "We do not have time for your stubbornness," another counselor snapped. "Stand down or be removed." The aide's hand hovered near the emergency panel. "Sir, please." The pressure grew. The tension sharpened. The room seemed too small to contain the weight of the moment. Then the console, the same dark screen that had played the encrypted message, lit up again. A single line of words appeared beneath the council feed. "The choice is approaching. Be ready." The lights flickered. The station trembled. The council fleet powered weapons. And somewhere, far beyond Mars, the anomaly shifted direction again, straight toward Earth. He stood still. Breath caught in his throat, knowing the next few seconds would decide everything, but having no idea which decision would save humanity and which one would destroy it. The station trembled again, harder this time, and the lights dimmed to a pale glow. The aide grabbed the nearest console to steady herself. Outside the window, the council fleet tightened its formation. Rows of gleaming ships aimed directly at the orbital consulate. Their weapons hummed with the cold threat of precision fire. The representative stood perfectly still, the faint message beneath the council feed burning in his thoughts. "The choice is approaching. Be ready." He didn't know what the anomaly truly was. He didn't know why the secret human group had reached out to him after all these years. He didn't know what the device in the hallway had been, or why it had warned him not to trust one signal but trust another. All he knew was that every sign pointed to this moment. The aide whispered, "Sir, they're charging weapons. We don't have time." Another rumble shook the station. He lowered his voice. "Patch me through to Earth Command 2. Her eyes widened, both at once. "Do it." Her hands moved quickly, and soon the screen split into two halves, one with the angry counselors, the other filled with Earth Command officials, confused and tense, trying to understand the sudden interference. The war declaration, the sensor anomalies, and the unknown object near Mars. Both sides waited for him to speak. And for the first time all day, he felt strangely calm. He took a breath that felt like smoke without the cigarette. Then he stepped forward. "For hours now," he said, "every one of you has been asking the wrong questions." The council bristled. Earth Command stiffened. "You," he said, nodding to the counselors, "are convinced humanity is the threat. And you," he said, turning slightly toward the Earth officials, "are convinced the council is behind everything strange happening in the system." He leaned forward slightly. But the real danger didn't come from either side. The council leader narrowed its eyes. "You are obstructing the investigation. This is not a time for riddles." "No," he said. "It's a time to listen." The aide looked at him, breath held, as though she too wasn't sure where he was going. He pointed toward the map feed glowing faintly beside them. "This is the new star map we received from the anomaly," he said. "It's changing the galaxy, rerouting space, breaking old paths and creating new ones. And none of us not humans, not the council, know how to predict it." One counselor snapped. "That is precisely why we must enforce stability by neutralizing your unpredictable species. You can't fight a natural force with threats," he said. "And this anomaly isn't an army. It's not a fleet. It's something else, something that reacts to decisions. It's been drawn to humanity because we make the choices no one expects." Earth Command's chief officer spoke, voice measured. "Representative, you are saying an unknown cosmic phenomenon is responding to human decisions. Are you certain?" "Yes," he said. "And if the council fires on us right now, the anomaly will react to the conflict. The message we received made that very clear. The aide's voice was quiet. It warned of collapse. He nodded gently. The council leader scoffed. You expect us to believe an unverified phantom speaks for the laws of the universe? You expect us to surrender our authority because of a rumor? He stared into the counselor's many eyes. No, I expect you to understand that if you fire on us, you won't be starting a war with humanity. You'll be provoking a reaction from something that doesn't think the way we do. Something that doesn't understand your rules. Something that might see violence as a pattern worth expanding. The room went quiet. The aide swallowed hard. Earth Command watched with growing fear. Even the counselors looked unsure now, though they tried to hide it. He reached for the console, inputting a command. The room's holographic display lit up, projecting a simulation of the anomaly's approach. Not a threat, not an attack, just a presence. A gravitational distortion moving through space like a storm front. Altering routes, bending signals, warping expectations. We don't need to defeat it, he said. We need to avoid provoking it. The council leader's voice came slow and cautious. Are you proposing a temporary ceasefire? No, he said. I'm proposing you call off your attack entirely. For now, the counselors exchanged glances. Their pride was visible even across the holographic feed. Pride and fear didn't mix well. Earth Command spoke sharply. Sir, what about the object near Mars? Is it part of the anomaly? He hesitated. I think it's a fragment of it, or an early form. And if we strike it, the hologram shifted automatically, running a probability model based on the incoming data. The results flashed in stark red numbers. If we strike it, he said, voice low, the anomaly's reaction could tear open the roots near Earth. It could break the stability of the entire Sol system. The aide stiffened. Meaning what? Meaning Earth could lose its place in the galaxy, he said softly. Literally. We could be cut off. Another tremor rocked the station, this one softer, more like a ripple passing through the structure than an attack. He knew what it was. The anomaly was drawing nearer. Earth Command, the Council, the aide, they all felt it too. The room grew still. He took a step closer to the console. I'm asking both sides to stand down. To stop pointing weapons and start listening. Because whatever choice we make now, the anomaly will see it. The council leader's voice cracked with tension. What choice do you expect us to make, human? He met the counselor's gaze without blinking. A choice for peace. The silence lasted forever. Then, unexpectedly, Earth Command spoke first. We agree, the officer said. We will stand down. The counselors flickered with uncertainty. One hissed a complaint. Another muttered in a language the translator couldn't render. But the leader finally spoke. This is unprecedented, it said. So is the anomaly. The council leader glared at him long enough to make the aides in the background shrink. Then finally, very well. Council forces will hold fire. Temporarily. He didn't breathe until the feed dimmed slightly, confirming the command had been sent to the fleet. Outside, the glowing rows of ships powered down their weapons, slow and uncertain, but real. The tension in the room eased a fraction, like a string released but not untied. The aide let out a tiny breath, relief flickering across her face. We did it, she whispered. He shook his head. No, we bought time. Because the real test was still ahead. The anomaly arrived. Not as a ship, not as a shadow. As a wave of soft white light washing across the edge of the station, drifting like a tide at dawn. The hull didn't buckle. The shields didn't break. Instead, the light passed through the structure as though searching. The console lit up one more time with a final message. Your choice is seen. The path remains open. He felt something unclench inside him. The anomaly drifted away, leaving the station unharmed. The object near Mars slowed, then dissolved into stardust, harmless. The galaxy's fractured map on the screen calmed, stabilizing into familiar lines again. Not perfect, not permanent, but no longer breaking. Earth Command cheered. The Council remained silent, stunned. The aide wiped a shaky hand across her eyes. He stood in the middle of the room, watching the light fade, the tension lift, the impossible settle into something real. He didn't feel victorious. He felt humbled. Humanity hadn't won a war today. It had avoided one. He glanced once more at the world below, oceans glowing gold with sunrise, the clouds drifting in lazy swirls. The place where billions of people lived without ever knowing how close they'd come to losing everything. The aide stepped beside him. So, what happens now? He thought about it. About the anomaly. About the Council. About the hidden human group that had sent the warning. About the galaxy's shifting paths and the choices that would shape the future. He exhaled slowly. Now, he said, now we learn. And maybe we start talking to each other instead of pointing weapons. She nodded quietly. He looked at Earth again, a little more hopeful than before. For the first time that day, he smiled. Humanity's still here, he said, and that's a pretty good place to start. And as the station drifted peacefully above the blue curve of home, the galaxy around them shimmered with new possibilities charted. Uncertain, but open, waiting for the choices that would come next.